This is part 2 or page 2 of the 6.3 to 6.4 practice knowledge check. So on this page, we're going to go over properties of circles, so area and circumference. So on 7 through 9, you want to use your knowledge about circles and then round your answers to the nearest hundredth if necessary, and then use 3.14 for pi. So for number 7, it says to find the circumference of a circle that has a diameter of 15 meters. So recall that a circle, you can sketch a circle, and then a diameter goes through the center from one point on a circle to another point on the circle. So the diameter here would be 15 meters. And then the formula for circumference is pi times diameter. So we're told to use 3.14 for pi. So what you do is you replace pi with 3.14 and then just multiply times the diameter, which we're told is 15. So go ahead and plug that into your calculator and you get 47.1 meters. So we only round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Since it's to the nearest tenth, we can just leave it like that. So the diameter, the circumference is 47.1 meters. Okay. Number 8, it says to find the area of a circle that has a diameter of 10 centimeters. So you can sketch a circle with a diameter that is 10 centimeters. Okay, so the formula for area is pi times radius squared, which means pi times the radius again. So it doesn't mean twice the radius, it's pi times the radius again. Okay, so let's plug in our values. So we're told to use 3.14 for pi. So there's pi. Now we need to figure out what is the radius times the radius. So if the diameter is 10, that means that the radius is half of the diameter, which would be 5. So what you're going to use is a radius of 5 in your formula. So multiply 3.14 times 5 times 5. And you're going to get 78.5 centimeters squared. So remember that the units for area are squared units. So the area is 78.5 centimeters squared. Okay, number 9 says find the area of a circle if the radius is 6 meters. So again, the formula for area is pi r squared, which means pi times the radius times the radius. So you can sketch a circle that has a radius of 6. So the radius goes from the center to a point on the circle, and that would be labeled as 6 meters. So to solve this, you just plug in 6 because the radius you already know is 6. So area would equal 3.14 times 6 times 6. So go ahead and multiply that out. So you get that the area is 113.04 meters squared. Okay, so for number 10, it says to check all of the boxes in which the angle measures 26 degrees. So first we need to figure out the angle measurements, so it's easier to do that first and then check them off. So the box here for angle G or JGF is 90 degrees. That's what the box indicates. So now we want to figure out the other pieces. So if this angle here, JGF, is 90, that means that angle FGH, that entire angle, would also be 90. Okay, because these form JGH is a straight line, so that means that if you have JGF is 90, then FGH has to also equal 90. So to figure out this missing piece, IGH, you can just take 90 minus 64. So we get that difference is 26, so that means angle IGH is 26 degrees. Then angle IGH, that piece right there, that's vertical to angle JGK. So remember that vertical angles are exactly the same measure, so it means that JGK would also be 26 degrees. Okay, and then angle KGH, okay, that angle, you could think about it two ways. So since JGH is a straight line and angle JGK is 26 degrees, you could figure out the measure of KGH. These guys would be supplementary, so you could take 180 minus 26. So you get 154, so that means KGH would be 154 degrees. So that's one way. Another way is to notice that angle JGF and FGI, both of those angles together would be vertical to KGH. So you could also take 90 plus 64, and that equals 154. So that's another way to figure out KGH. Okay. So since you're asked to figure out which angles measure 26 degrees, then the angles that measure 26 degrees would be IGH and JGK, which is the same thing as KGJ. So those are the only two that measure 26 degrees. Okay, for numbers 11 through 15, you want to use the word bank. So to the side, you guys have a box. That's your word bank to help you out. So number 11, angles that add up to 180 degrees. So those would be called supplementary angles. So supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So number 12, an angle that measures 118 degrees would be an acute, sorry, not an acute angle, an obtuse angle. Okay, so we want to write in obtuse. So angles that share a common vertex. Okay, so if they share a common vertex, those would be adjacent angles. Okay, so angles that are congruent. Remember, congruent means equal in measure, so those would be vertical angles. And a blank triangle has two congruent sides. So two congruent sides would be an isosceles triangle. Okay, so equilateral would be all sides congruent. If there's only two sides that are congruent, the best name for that would be isosceles. Okay, so this concludes your review for 6.3 and 6.4 for your knowledge check. So make sure you study these hints and remember that you can use your practice test or practice knowledge check and your notes when you're taking the knowledge check.